Namashreshtam manumapi sachiputramatra swarupam Rupam tasya grajam Urupurim maturim gostavatim Radha kundam girivaram aho radhika madhavasam Prapto yasya pratita kripaya shri gurum tam natosmi Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. We are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 2, resuming from text 93. Kaviraj Goswami is currently establishing the supremacy of Krishna as Swayam Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As you'll still find now in India, there are people who will say, oh, Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu. Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. And even if you look at the Das avatar scheme, the famous Das avatar, a lot of the time, commonly, it's considered as the avatars of Vishnu. And, well, it is the avatars of Vishnu, but Krishna is, I should say that Krishna is listed in the Das avatar scheme as avatar number 8 of Vishnu. But the alternative scheme, which is accepted by Gaudiya Vaishnavas, is the one presented by Jayadev Goswami that we generally sing on the appearance days of the Vishnu Tattva incarnations. And there we will find that Balaram is listed as the 8th incarnation of Vishnu, not Krishna. But another way of looking at it is that we have, so in that sense we have, in that regard we have Keshavadrita Haladara Rupa. Hala means a plough, and Dara, of course, means to hold, so holder of the plough, Keshavadrita Haladara Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hari. So that's you could say, according to Gaudiya, the Gaudiya is the authorized scheme, has Balaram as the 8th incarnation of Vishnu. Whereas other schemes you will see Krishna, so those who are familiar with other schemes will say, oh, Krishna, he is an avatar of Vishnu. Vishnu is Swayam Bhagavan. But as we discussed the other day, there are various ways of establishing the ontological supremacy of Krishna relative vis-a-vis Narayan. But even a broader perspective may be that even if Krishna chooses to appear as the incarnation of Vishnu, that does not preclude him being ontologically superior to Vishnu. The Lord can appear or choose to appear through any channel he so wishes. For instance, a devotee may choose to appear in any kind of material circumstance. Devotees can appear in all types of different families, and this is mentioned in one scripture, perhaps Chaitanya Charitamrita, or maybe Chaitanya Bhagavat, I forget. When the question is posed, like, why do devotees not just appear in so-called auspicious circumstances, like a high-class, very sattvic family with no financial stresses? The parents are loving, emotionally generous, responsible, intelligent. It's not always the case. Devotees appear in all sorts of circumstances. Haridas Thakur in a Muslim family, Rup Sanatan in Brahmin families, but then they aligned themselves with the Islamic administration of the time. So all sorts of various circumstances devotees may be born into or find themselves in. But those circumstances do not override the essential nature, the true nature of the devotee. They do not dominate or they do not override the true nature and identity of the devotee. So in a similar way, Krishna may appear through any kind of channel in this world, or as he descends, but that does not override or shape fundamentally his true identity as Swayam Bhagavan. That's how I like to see it anyway. So in different yugas, we are told, the same pastime occurs, but with variation. So it's not static, and it's not entirely consistent. Each pastime, although the basic theme is the same, the details they will change. So exactly how that lila plays out, that's flexible. So in the same way, it's possible that this variation applies to how the incarnations descend. Or it is possible that if he chose to do so, we must admit, theoretically, that Krishna could choose to appear through Vishnu, as an avatar of Vishnu, should he choose to do so. We cannot deny Krishna the right and ability to appear how he so chooses. But that does not diminish his status as Swayam Bhagavan. So this is a contentious point. It probably will continue to be so, not so much in the West, but in India amongst the religiously aware and educated, amongst the Brahminical community, we could say. Although we could also say that it is probably becoming less and less of an issue as the Brahminical community swaps their study of the Vedic texts for study of computer science literature. Yes, they once applied their intelligence to the study of the Vedas, but now that's applied to the study of software development texts. Anyway, so Kaviraj Goswami is covering this point, and he is giving the example of the verse which we did establish yesterday. It's Ete Chamsa Kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrare Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. It's a famous verse from the Bhagavatam, where Kaviraj Goswami describes the first verse as the subject, the second verse as the predicate. And in that way, through established logic, says that the verse is describing is essentially proving Krishna as Swayam Bhagavan. Swayam Bhagavan being the predicate, and the amsa, the portion, plenary was translated as a plenary portion, as the subject. So Krishna being the original source of all incarnations. Kaviraj Goswami is citing that verse as evidence from the Bhagavatam of this process. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakti Vrinda. Text 93. Ashraya Janite Kahi Enava Pardartha Ena Veda Utpati Hetu Se Ashrayata. To know distinctly the ultimate shelter of everything that be, I have described the other 9 categories. The cause for the appearance of these 9 is rightly called their shelter. The shelter is the ashraya. So this verse refers to the previous verse where the contents of the Srimad Bhagavatam have been outlined. The 10 categories, with category number 10 being Ashraya, the ultimate shelter, the premium category. And of course, as we know, Kanda 10 or Canto 10 of the Bhagavatam describes Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. So Kaviraj Goswami is again citing the Bhagavatam as evidence to support the supremacy ontologically of Krishna. Krishna eka sarva shraya Krishna sarva dam Krishnera sharire sarva vishvera vishram. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the shelter and abode of everything. All the universes rest in his body. Dasame dasamam lakshyam ashrita shraya vigraham Shri Krishnakyam param dhamma jagad dhamma namami tat. The 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam reveals the 10th object, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of all surrendered souls. He is known as Sri Krishna, and he is the ultimate source of all the universes. Let me offer my obeisances unto him. Purport. This quotation comes from Sridhar Swami's commentary on the first verse of the 10th canto, chapter 1, Srimad Bhagavatam. Kaviraj Goswami is quoting Sridhar Swami, who is considered the premier, considered by Mahaprabhu, none other than Gauranga Mahaprabhu, as the premier commentator of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishnera swarupa ara shakti traya jnana yanrahaya tanra nahi krishnete agyana. One who knows the real feature of Sri Krishna and his 3 different energies cannot remain ignorant about him. I'll read some of the purport. Srila Jiva Goswami states in his Bhagavad Sandarbha 16 that by his potencies which act in natural sequences beyond the scope of the speculative human mind, the supreme transcendence, the summum bonum, eternally and simultaneously exists in 4 transcendental features. His personality, his impersonal effulgence, his potential parts and parcels, i.e. the living beings, and the principal cause of all causes. The supreme whole is compared to the sun, which also exists in 4 features, namely the personality of the sun god, the glowing sphere, the sun rays inside the sun planet, and the sun's reflection in many other objects. The ambition to corroborate the existence of the transcendental absolute truth by limited conjectural endeavors cannot be fulfilled, because he is beyond the scope of our limited speculative minds. In an honest search for truth, we must admit that his own powers are inconceivable to our tiny brains. The exploration of space has demanded the work of the greatest scientists of the world, yet there are countless problems regarding even fundamental knowledge of material creation that bewilder scientists who confront them. Such material knowledge is far removed from the spiritual nature, and therefore the acts and arrangements of the Absolute Truth are beyond all doubts inconceivable. So, Jiva Goswami has added an extra feature. As the verse itself says, there are 3 different energies. Jiva Goswami adds number 4. What are these 3 energies? Swarupa, Shakti, it doesn't list them in the verse. But the four, personality, effulgence, parts and parcels, and the principal cause of all causes. Text 97. Krishnara Swarupera Haya Sadvidha Bilasa Prabhava Vaibhava Rupe Dvividha Prakasha. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna enjoys himself in 6 primary expansions. His 2 manifestations are Prabhav and Vaibhav. Purport. Now the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita turns to a description of the personality of Godhead Krishna in his innumerable expansions. The Lord primarily expands himself in 2 categories, Prabhav and Vaibhav. The Prabhav forms are fully potent like Sri Krishna, and the Vaibhav forms are partially potent. So we will have different ways of categorizing the forms of emanating, coming, manifesting out from Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. There are various forms that come out, and various different labels or different names have been given to describe, categorize the forms, to allot these forms into categories. So previously, and these categories are made based on certain parameters. So the parameters described here are to do with potency and like magnitude. So Prabhav, they contain the full magnitude of the Supreme, and the Vaibhav of a lesser magnitude, a lesser power. So this categorization, this parameter is based on power, how much of the energy they are carrying. Whereas the previous category that we met earlier in this chapter was based on form. The prakash, the prakash forms, the prakash manifestations have a form identical to that which they were produced from. Whereas the vilas are also produced from that same original Swayam Bhagavan, but they have a different form. Dandavat Prabhu, Hare Krishna. They have a different form. So we have different categories emerging. Prakash, Vilas, and Prabhav, Vaibhav, based on different ways of measuring various parameters pertaining to the forms. Oh, thank you, Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Gurudev. So the purport continues. The potent Prabhav manifestations are also of 2 varieties, temporary and eternal. The Mohini, Hamsa, and Shukla forms are manifested only temporarily, in terms of a particular age. Among other Prabhavs who are not very famous according to the material estimation are Dhanvantari, Rishab, Vyas, Dattatreya, and Kapila. Among the Vaibhav Prakash forms are Korma, Matsya, Naranarayan, Varaha, Hayagriva, Prishnigarbha, Baladev, Yagya, Vibhu, Satyasena, Hari, Vaikuntha, Ajita, Vamana, Sarvabhauma, Rishab, Vishvaksena, Dharmasetu, Sudhama, Yogeshwara, and Brihadbanu. There you have it. Text 98. Amsa Shaktavesha Rupe Dvividhavatara Baya Balya Poganda Dharmadui Taprakara. His incarnations are of 2 kinds, namely partial and empowered. He appears in 2 ages, childhood and